everyone, welcome to Q&A with CCC. My name is Gina Ferraro. I head up social communications here at Christ Community Chapel, and I'm sitting with our founding pastor, Jim Colledge.
Hi, everybody.
Pastor Jim, let's look at today's question.
Great.
It is, when we die and go to heaven, will we recognize our friends, family, and the people we knew on earth?
Yes. And I'm done. No, not really. Let's take a look at what the Bible has to say, because it does speak to that very issue. But I want to make this one comment before we begin, and that is that as much as I, and I'm sure you, want to see people who've gone before us into heaven, when we get there, we will be so captivated by the presence of Jesus that really those relationships will pale in significance. Still, the Bible does speak about that. Let me take you to a passage in 1 John chapter 3. It says this, "Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears, we shall be like him because we shall see him as he is." Now, in that one statement, I think there's a hint as to the fact that we will, in fact, be recognizable. We know that at the end of Luke, if you remember the story of Jesus walking with the two disciples, and he veils himself initially, and then he reveals himself, and they recognize him as Jesus. After the resurrection, there are a number of other appearances. The disciples, when they had cloistered themselves away, when Jesus appears to them, they recognize him. So when we look at 1 John, when we look at the appearances of Jesus in the gospel, and we compare the two, we say we will be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And I think the implication is there will be some recognition.
Okay.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, at the very end, and it'd be great to read all of it, but in verse 12 it says this, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known." So there again, I think there is this knowledge of personhood. Further in Matthew chapter 22, you remember this on when Jesus is talking to the scribes and Pharisees and this whole trick that they propose to him about the woman who marries brother after brother.
Right.
Who will she be? And it says this, "And as far as the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living." So again, he identifies people. Later, when he's with his disciples, the three disciples on the Mount of Transfiguration, remember he is transformed into his glory, and we see him with two people who are identified by Peter as Moses and Elijah. So I think just from those few verses that we looked at today, will we recognize people in heaven that we've known? Oh, yes. And I think we'll recognize not only those people, but people that we've read about in the scripture. So when you get to heaven, when I get to heaven, we'll get to see people that we've longed to see, maybe we've never met, but we've heard about, who know Jesus Christ and who have gone to be with him.
That's great. Thank you so much for that answer. I'm sure that's really helpful for whoever asked it, and I'm sure it's super helpful for other people who've wondered the exact same thing. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Q&A with CCC. This is your chance to ask us whatever questions you have, whether it's about God, faith, spirituality, morality. We want to be a place where you feel comfortable asking those questions, and then we want to get you those answers. Submit your questions. We'll show you how to do that in the video description. We'll post the directions there, and you can text in your questions or email them to us. And make sure to come back here every week to see if we answered your question. On behalf of everyone here at Christ Community Chapel, thanks for tuning in, and have a really great day.